One of the things I've come across recently in just some of my pastoral work with people in pastoral care is this question and struggle that I see many young people going through is it okay to date and maybe even to eventually marry somebody who doesn't share the Christian faith? And so for this week's word, I thought we could focus together on the letter Y and the word yoked. Yoked. And for that, I want to turn together to 2 Corinthians chapter 6 and verses 14 and following. But before I do, it's important for us to understand the image that is behind this word yoked that Paul uses here in 2 Corinthians 6. And essentially, I think what he has in mind is in an agrarian society, a farmer would typically use oxen or cattle to help plow his field or to fertilize his crop or whatever it might be. And in certain instances, a farmer would be forced into yoking together, putting the oxen's head into a wooden apparatus that would keep them shoulder to shoulder. And you would get in the situation where one of the oxen or one of the cattle was larger or taller or stronger or weaker than the other ox, and which would force his work to basically go in circles and would prevent him from making progress in his work. And as Paul addresses the Corinthian church here in chapter 6 of his second letter, he's using this image of yoking two oxen together for doing agricultural work. And he says, "Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness, or what fellowship has light with darkness? What accord has Christ with Belial? Or what portion does a believer share with an unbeliever? What agreement has the temple of God with idols? For we are the temple of the living God. As God said, I will make my dwelling among them and walk among them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Therefore, go out from their midst and be separate from them, says the Lord. Touch no unclean thing, then I will welcome you, and I will be a father to you, and you shall be sons and daughters to me, says the Lord Almighty." And I think it's difficult to see some of the struggles that I see young Christians have in the dating culture. Maybe they've been disappointed by certain relationships that they've had dating Christian men or women, and they've run out of patience, and somebody comes along who may seem even nicer than certain Christians at some point, and they sort of rationalize away and they convince themselves it's okay to enter into a relationship with somebody like this. Or we see it in the music industry, perhaps, where there was a faithful Christian artist in the past who may enter into a contractual relationship with an explicit artist whose music dishonors the Lord. And we see it in, of course, marriage relationships that are painful and destructive in the long run. And Paul is simply calling us to yoke ourselves in the work of ministry, in marital relationships, to those who are also believers. And this can be difficult, knowing that just the sheer numbers of the culture around us, there aren't as many Christians around, and it can be difficult. But this is what Paul is talking about, because the church, the people of God, are the place where the Spirit of God resides. We are the temple of the living God, and God is in our midst, and he wants us striving side by side with his people, doing the ministry within this temple, within the place where God resides, in a way that honors him. And that's what we're calling. That's what we're called to do. That's what we're warned against, not to be unequally yoked with unbelievers. Thank you so much for tuning in this week.